official views on public transport. We've got the worst bus service in the whole of the city. Most bus services now every 10-15 minutes, ours every half hour. At night it's 2, and on Sunday it's an hour. All this university expansion, everybody's going to catch buses and all that. It just doesn't happen. It's getting to the point now the buses are so crowded, it's not a financially viable route because there's a lot of elderly people involved in Long Levens. You get young children, babies, and pushchairs and prams. You get elderly people and disabled, the most vulnerable group of people, and they're being left stranded. Once those 4 places are taken up, with a pushchair, a wheelchair, or even just a trolley, a shopping trolley, you can't access the bus.
It's a paradox in a way, because looking at the main routes that you have here, Long Levens is an extremely well-connected place to be, in theory, because you can go to Cheltenham, you can go to Gloucester, you can go, and it's on the main conduit. I guess the reality is, if you've got a bus service which is only really pandering towards the, you've got the 94U, this university service, so it's great, for people that's explicit using that. But yeah, if you have a ward which has a particular demographic which needs a service that better caters to that demographic, it would make sense to put more buses on that certain route. Now, I know there's been the promise of this. The question would be to keep them under pressure. Look, we're having this situation. You need to do something about it, because if it's not just happening here, it's a genuine. I'm sure there are suburbs up and down the UK where this is exactly a similar issue, that you've not got the transport which should be there to cater for the demographic which is in that ward. The issue, I think, generally of transport, you can't just necessarily solve everything by throwing more buses at it, because equally, if it's a non-viable route, then from a profitability point of view, Stagecoach is going to look at it and go, hold on a second, we're not making any money on that route, we're not going to run it. So there's also the profit motive there. What they need to do really is be urged by the City Council to say, well, hold on a second, if there are routes that you can service that can generate revenue, fine. Maximise those and use if you've got to run the route at a subsidy, then run a route at a subsidy.
This is how it should be, because there must be other routes that are profitable.
Indeed, and I think that would be the realistic solution to the problem, because if you want more buses, it's going to be a funding issue. I think the current response that you've got from the council is probably down to the fact that they don't want to put their hand in their pocket, and they'd much rather spend the money on other things like a new roundabout, which doesn't really need doing up. That roundabout, by the way, the Elbridge Court roundabout, is only ever, not the Elbridge Court, the Elbridge roundabout, is only ever an issue when they're doing roadworks on it. Yeah. If they just left it alone, it would be all right. What have they done to it? I think they've widened one lane and they've put a lane through the middle, this donut business, and I'm just thinking, hold on, that in itself is odd. But coming back to buses, yeah, I think the realistic solution is to say, look, citywide, where do you make revenue from? Can we work together as a council to say, look, these are places, not just Long Levens, but there are other routes, I'm sure, that need looking at and need to become tailored and made more bespoke to the people that actually live there. And then what Stagecoach would find is they make a lot more money. Those routes would become profitable, and therefore we've got the motive for them to keep doing it. So I think it's about getting them to buy into it, and not the council going, oh yeah, well, we'll do something about it, not doing anything about it, you're writing letters, they're just probably disregarding them point blank, because they know they're not going to realistically do anything about it. What you've got with this particular ward, if you look at it, is, and I've done a video on the kind of congestion and the parking issues that are around here. It's bounded by 4 major roundabouts. And a bypass on one side, so there's a lot of traffic going around here, and it's not just internal city traffic. It's people travelling through. They're trying to get from A to B. They don't really care where they are. They're just trying to get on their journey. So you look at some of the other roundabouts. The Elbridge Court one, for example, is the most congested roundabout in the county. It's the most congested roundabout in the county. Up to 20,000 cars a day. Right? That is insane. Now, that's on one end of it. Then you've got the next roundabout where you've got the Tewkesbury Road roundabout. That's another one which is busy. Then you've got the bypass roundabout, and then you've got our good old friend there with the A40 kind of top. So the whole place is bounded by A roads and roundabouts. That causes a problem. I think what needs to be done is, if you can have parallel transit, so if you can suggest that there's a route out from the city which goes down Tewkesbury Road, rather than forcing everything down Cheltenham Road, that would be a way to reduce some of the congestion, some of the safety issues, provide an alternative route which will maybe discriminate between people that want to go that way to a place because they might have mates down that neck of the woods, you know, and do a journey and get to Cheltenham that way rather than just going down the same route. So I think there are alternatives, but I think the problem coming back to you have a stagnant council that doesn't want to look at anything other than the plans they've already ever seen.
My solution would be park and rides north, west, south and east, not just a mile out. I mean, the park and ride at Elmbridge Court, they don't realise that when the rugby's on, people's going to go across all the way through Gloucester, through all the major spine roads, into Gloucester, to go out to Gloucester, to catch a bus back in, because, you know, it'll be cheaper.
Yeah.
But it needs to serve that particular area to stop them coming in and using these main spine roads of Barnwood Road and Chipsby Road and Cheltenham Road.
A very good point. Just one last, there's a gentleman here who's got a question, but one point is, Elmbridge Road roundabout is spending £9 million on, and you've got military veterans sleeping on the streets of Gloucester, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And of course, he's under the Tewkesbury MP at the moment, so he's not that keen on looking after it. But the other thing is, Elmbridge Road roundabout's going to be closed at 8 o'clock tonight. Believe it or not, so you have to find another way home.